Hi sisters, and welcome back to another video. So if you clicked on this video, then I presume you also appreciate pretty things. I've had a couple of questions about my lovely pretty white Bible commentary I use. I've had questions about what I'm using and where they can get it. Now this is just a Tony Evans one and it is just brown. And it's absolutely fine, like you can leave it brown if you want, it's not a big deal, but we know the inside is what matters. However, a pretty cover looks so good on display and it just makes us happy when we pick it up. Like I do enjoy picking this up and seeing it look better. I don't know, I just do, we just do. We are, and I know I'm not alone because I've had a few questions about this. Yeah, so most commentaries and hardback Bibles are not like the most attractive. I feel like publishers don't really put a lot of effort into the covers. You might argue it's because it doesn't matter, but it does. It does help us when we're choosing things. We want it to be good on the inside as well, but also we want the outside to look appealing. And so the first thing I did when I got this Tony Evans Bible commentary was just make it match my aesthetic. The cover was just not the vibe that I wanted. So yeah, when I've shown this a couple of times in my videos, I have had a few questions about it. And a few of you said you want to do this as well. So I figured, okay, I'll do a video showing you how to do it, rather than just trying to explain it with words, because there is a little bit of an art to it and some things that I've learnt that would make it better. So hopefully this one will turn out better. Now, the reason I've delayed actually is because I've been having trouble trying to find a book to cover. I ended up choosing this chronological life study book purely because really it's the only hardback book I've got that I wouldn't mind covering. I don't actually hate this one. I don't think it's that bad, but I'm already starting to see like beat marks on it. It's got some scratches and it's got a cut here from when I accidentally dug my nail probably into it. A little bit of wear and tear on the corner. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if I covered that. But yeah, my main preference is to cover the old boring brown ones. The only brown Bibles I have actually are this one, which I considered, but I actually kind of like it. I know it's brown, but it's the 1611 KJV and I want that to show because I do actually like this cover. So yeah, I didn't want to cover that. And then the only other one I had is my interlinear. I don't think I've shown either of these Bibles in my videos before actually. Let me know if you're interested in seeing anything about them, but this is an interlinear. Now, again, I quite like it. Plus, this is from the 80s. I'm not saying that's old, but it is vintage. And I don't want to cover vintage items. I don't know. I feel like they need to stay as they were. So yeah, I just didn't feel led to cover these two. And the only other hardback book I have was this one. So I figured, okay, for the sake of the video, I'll make a sacrifice and I'll cover this one for you. Now it does work with soft covers as well. I did cover a soft cover commentary as well with this process that I'm doing. So that does work. So yeah, whatever type of book you've got, this method will work. Now, the success rate will depend on the type of vinyl you use. Now, I've got two different types. This is the one I used for the commentary I showed you. As you can see, this is the last I've got of it actually, so it's kind of beat up and it's got marks on it because I'm just keeping this as an example. This is very thick vinyl. It doesn't bend very easily. And this is mainly, I think, used for sort of kitchen tops and things. So it is waterproof and it's very thick. And obviously it has grid on the back. You'll find that is going to come in very handy. So yeah, if I peel off the edge, it's quite a thick material. It doesn't fold too easily, but it worked quite well for the hardback book. It also means you're less likely to get too many air bubbles because it's so thick and easy to kind of just push them out. So that's an option, and I'll leave links to everything I've got in the description below if you want to check them out. So that's the one I used for my book, and then because I wanted to do a soft cover one, I felt that was too thick, so I chose this one instead, which is much thinner. I mean, immediately feel the difference. This is a lot thinner material, and I quite like this. It's got a pinky hue to it. How nice is that? Love this vinyl. And again, this is gridded at the back as well, which we'll come to see shortly is going to be very handy. So I like this. It's got like specks of brown in it, and I just quite like the design of that one. It's something a bit different. We have got so much marble going on right now. Sorry if this isn't, you can't even differentiate different types of marbles. There's three on my desk at the moment. So yeah, I'll leave that up to you to decide. The thicker one does work well for hardbacks, but if you've got a soft cover, I would go with a thinner one. I'm actually going to use this thinner one today for a hardback, so this works for both. So when in doubt, really, I'd suggest picking the thinner one. I have also used this thinner one on this White Bible too, which is my journaling Bible. So you can see what it looks like. I only did the front and back, I didn't do the spine on this one. So you can see it does work for hardback as well. Right, so to clarify, the only things you're going to need are your Bible or commentary or whatever it is that you're going to cover, your vinyl of choice. Again, I'll leave these linked in the description below, but you can get vinyl in anything. Like, you can have so much fun with this. Whatever your aesthetic is, you will find a vinyl for it. It's amazing what there are out there. And a pair of scissors. That's literally it. This is the kit. Very, very, very straightforward resource-wise. Right, first thing you're going to do is lay out your vinyl flat. Now, a tip I will give you is make sure you are happy with the pattern. If it's different, like mine is, for example, there is a whole load of white space in this section. I'm not loving that. I would prefer this part to be used for my book. So I'm actually going to cut off this section here. Maybe I'll use it for something else. I won't throw it away, but I'm probably going to cut it from about here so that I don't have all this dead white space, because it's not the vibe. It's not the vibe. So, okay, I'll cut it here at this 30 to 40 line. And then I'm pretty much happy with the whole of that. You will find it's a little bit tricky with it wanting to roll up, so get something weighty. I'm going to use my coaster to keep it flat on that end. And then I'm going to open the book. And personally, I'm going to put mine right in the middle of the entire length. That is going to leave a lot of overhang, but that is better. Yes, you're going to have a bit of waste, but believe me, you'll be grateful that you had that extra rather than not having enough. I'm now going to cut this to size, leaving a few inches around the border of the whole thing. Okay, your job is much easier now that you've got a smaller piece. So I'm going to line that up. To keep things nice and straight, I'm going to use this grid just to line up that edge roughly where I want it to be, and the same here, just so I've got some kind of guide to make sure that I've got straight edges. I'm now going to mark the outline of the Bible. Now, these will actually shift slightly when you fold it, but for a guide, it's a fine starting point. Now, you might also want to check, I'm just going to lift this up, that you're happy with the layout if you have a pattern that's different. So this is the front of the Bible, that's the back. I actually think this side is better. It's got a little bit more colour. So I'm going to flip mine over like that, because I think I want this bit to be at the front and that bit to be at the back, because that's a bit paler. All right, flipping it back. Right, so I'm actually going to begin with the back. So we're now going to do some cuts based on wherever the fold lines are. So you've got the spine there. We'll do a cut here and a cut there. And I'm just going to do that one side. I'm leaving that side for now. And let's cut. Okay, so now we should have this. So you've got some flaps that are going to come in on the back page. And we are ready to do the back. Now for this one, because we're going to start peeling from here, I don't want to have too much overhang that's going to get in the way. So I'm going to cut this down a bit. We're not going to need a lot. You don't really need much to fold in. So I'm going to I'll probably cut off more later. But for now, I'm just going to cut this much so it's just not so long. And if I lift this up, it's going to go on these pages. So it's going to go down like that. Now if I leave it like that, these edges, they're okay, but they might interfere with your folding over. They might hang over the edge a bit. So what we're going to do is come in at a little bit of an angle. So I'm just going to take off a little bit. So it's got a little bit of a snip. This isn't a science, you don't need to measure it, but it's about 5 millimeters. And then we'll do the same for these because we need to peel all of this off and they are going to get in the way. And then come in at an angle again. Now you'll notice I'm really just eyeballing this, which is surprising for me. You'd think I'd be a lot more meticulous with the measuring, being a perfectionist, but I'm not actually when it comes to things like this. But if you want to be, that's absolutely fine. You can just measure to make sure all of these are the same and measure to make sure you've taken off the same amount off the edge if you want to. All right, now we are going to peel off. I'm going to peel off this whole edge here, and we'll go for a little bit of this bit as well. Don't need to take it all off yet. We're going to do it slowly, slowly. Now you want to line up your corners. So you want to make sure your corners here are lined up, and then you can fold that in when you are happy with the alignment. The good thing about this vinyl is you can peel it off and it won't cause damage underneath. So don't worry about damaging anything. I mean, you might sort of stop being sticky if you do it too many times, but it's generally, it's quite thick, so it's all right. And then from here, I'm going to flip it over and we're going to work on going just up to the spine here, and then I'm going to stop. And what you want to do is make sure that you are starting from the edge here. Like I can already see air bubbles. So I'm going to start from here before I push it all down and really get the air bubbles out. And if they're not coming out, you peel it back off again and you start again, just a little bit at a time. You can use like a sharp object if you want, but careful you don't crease the vinyl. I've done that before. I just kind of like to use my fingers now because it's reasonably thick in that it doesn't bubble too much. It's the benefit of not putting the sides down yet as well, because you can get anything that's at the edge. Just push it all out. Okay, and now that's the back. The back is stuck down. So if at this point you want to change these, the length of them, I think I am. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one there and I'm going to curl these up. And this is why I suggest you always start with the back of your book, because honestly, the first time is just never great. And you kind of learn what you're doing as you go. And so I always say start at the back, and that's where you can make your mistakes that are less obvious. And so this is what I learned after doing this the first time. You'll notice the way I folded this is so much better than how I did these corners. Look at that. They look so bad in comparison. I cut them way too much of an angle. I did a 45-degree angle so that when I folded them both in, they didn't cover the back of the book, which looks terrible. So yeah, that's why I suggest just taking off a small, tiny, cute little angle so that it covers a lot more nicely. I'm happy with the back, looking good. So that's how it's looking at the moment, the back, looking really nice. So now we're going to do the spine. So let's make sure we've got our cut marks here as well. I know I've already marked it, but you always want to double, triple check that everything is still in the right place. Yes, I'm happy with the markings there. I'm also going to cut this off now because it's in the way. Don't need that anymore. Okay, right, so let's do our cut line here. And I'm going to cut off quite a bit of this section as well. Alrighty, let's peel, and then we're going to stop at the spine here. So fold that down, and then you lift it up, and then you push in, because you know there's this groove here. I'm pushing my finger in that bit right now to make sure that it covers the whole way. you want to have enough for it to curve around. Okay, you want to start pushing down all the way. Now I've got to turn it sideways because I can't do it at an angle like that. So sorry, but I'm basically just doing the same, getting the air bubbles out. We'll leave these flappy bits till last, because I'm going to show you what we're going to do with those. Okay, right, open up the book again. And now we're going to do our cuts from here. Now it's moved just a few millimeters, and that is to be expected because it's had to curve all the way around the spine. So there's a little bit of movement, so just be aware of that. So I'm going to mark the new line, and I'm going to cut from here. So I'm now going to trim these down so they're about this long. I'm going to leave that one till last because that's what we're going to do last, and then coming in at a little angle again. So now same thing, so I'm going to curl this edge down into this groove, push it down, get rid of any air bubbles. Avoid using sharp objects here because it can scratch your vinyl, especially this thinner one. So just stick with your fingers or something soft. Okay. And now I'm going to be pulling this as I'm smoothing it down, slowly, slowly. So don't do it all at once because you'll end up with air bubbles. So I'm just trying to make sure that's really in there because that is not wanting to stick very nicely. Make sure it's really down flat before you pull the next bit. I'm just going to stop there, the edge of the book. Okay, so I've got to sort these bits out and I've got to sort out this. Now, this is important because look, I made a mistake here and I don't want you to make the same mistake. So I accidentally cut in the wrong place when I was peeling the edges. So I've got some straight bits sticking out there. I will show you how I'm going to deal with that. It's not a big deal, but this is real life. So I'm now going to curl these edges in, and you'll see they're too short because I did a boo-boo. All right. So look, disappointed with that, but I'm going to cover that up in a minute. And then this one, I have to cut this a bit more as well because it's folding over. Okay, now before I cover this over, now this will cover those terrible bits nicely, but what you'll see is there's a little bit of the book showing at the corner there, and perfectionist me won't like that. So I'm going to take some of these old scraps that I've cut off, and I'm actually just going to fold it over here. And because this is now in the way, I'm just going to cut this off so I can actually see what I'm doing. There we are. So what I want to do now is I want to just peel this back ever so slightly, just here. You don't have to do this because you're hopefully not going to do the same mistake I did. But I now need to stick a piece there because I want it to cover up the edge. Like that. I'm only doing it right at the bottom. And I decided to peel this off because I'm actually going to straighten it because I noticed it was kind of wonky. Okay, so can you see how it's covered up the bottom? I'll do the same on the other side. All right, so yeah, mine's not the neatest, but that is because I didn't measure anything. It's not how I want to roll in this one. Okay, cut this down. Again, just make sure it's acutely coming in. Try and do this before you take off the backing paper, because otherwise they kind of stick to you. By the way, this is me trying to let go of some of my perfectionist tendencies. I am very aware of how uncomfortable it's making me, that everything is not perfect, but that's the way we are. Okay, we're almost there, guys, we're almost there. So this is what it's looking like. At least there's no air bubbles. That looks good. And you can't really see that bit at all. I think I've covered it up pretty well, considering that was a flop. It's nice. Okay, now the spine. So let's sort that out. All we're going to do is going to have to kind of open the book a bit to get the gap showing in the spine. so you can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and stuff this down the spine. So it needs to be a lot shorter because obviously all that's not going to make it. So I'm going to do a few centimeters. Sorry, it's kind of hard to show you and do it at the same time because I need it to be flat on the table, but I will awkwardly try and show you what I'm doing. Okay, so as you can see, I've just kind of stuffed it behind the back of the spine there. Now I had two bits here where I'd cut them, but that's my fault. I think I cut them just incorrectly because I wasn't measuring. Boo! So I've got a tiny little gap there and there, but I'm sure that'll be avoidable if you're a little bit more careful than I am and measure. And let's do the same for the top of the spine. And I've got some sticky uppy bits right there. I'm just going to trim them so that they are level rather than folding them in. It's just personal preference. Okay, let's give it a quick once over. Woof! And there we have it. This is my new chronological Bible in marble. Nice pinky marble, pinky grey. And I'm glad that that's the front cover. I was very careful this time to make sure I was happy with that. Pretty good. I mean, the inside, yeah. I mean, it's better than my other one. What I could do if I really wanted to kind of correct that, I could just stick a new sheet on top or another cover. That's an option. This side looks a bit better. I have got this really nice pearly white card, which I could always use to cover the inside if I wanted to cover those bits up. That's a possibility. I'm really not. Try not to be too precious about it. Yeah, that's the process that I use to cover my Bibles with Bible. And like I said, those are different patterns and designs you can find out there. And it would just jazz up your library because, you know, then your books will look pretty. And when it comes to pick up to reading it, just something about some nice aesthetics. It really does make a difference. So yeah, I hope that helped. The only little mistake I made was when I was curving it round. I wasn't careful when I was cutting. So I cut it too short. I was meant to leave it another 5mm. I don't really know how that happened. I'm sure I'll see when I play it back and I'll be cringing, going, no, don't do it. But that's how I fixed it. So you can't really see now, even where that was. Pretty well covered. And it'll do. It's good enough. I actually think it's still better than my first one. So yeah, don't be too hard on yourselves if it doesn't go right the first time. It's not easy. It does get better as you learn techniques. So like this one, you can see here where I've had to fold it over, but I had a thicker edge to do that here. Inside it's terrible. It's still uneven, but whatever. It still looks better considering, you know, it's not perfect. It's hard to be perfect, but it still looks pretty good. So there we are. I hope that helped for those of you who are curious how I cover my Bibles and my commentaries so that they look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. If you're interested in doing a little craft project like this, it's kind of fun. Try and learn from my mistakes, and I'm sure you'll make mistakes of your own as you're going through it. It's something that takes practice, and it really does depend on the book. Each book is going to have different challenges, so soft cover ones I think you'll find a lot easier, but generally the method I showed you is a good starting point. So that's all for now. Please do leave any questions you might have about this process and I'll do my best to answer you. And the links to the vinyl I used is going to be in the description box below. And other than that, please do leave any other thoughts, takeaways, comments you've got in the comments, and any other video requests you might have and things that you're curious about as well. And I would do my best to share them with you and help you any way I can. So remember, Jesus loves you. Lord willing, I'll speak to you soon. And until then, have a blessed day. Bye.